What's up, everybody? It's Eric, free NFL bets, wild card, wild card round. Guys, isn't that crazy? I started this podcast back in July for the Hall of Fame game, preseason, regular season, and now it's the playoffs. And I have no complaints with the NFL this season whatsoever. I'm riding really hot right now. I bet like 40 bets in the preseason, crushed preseason, did really well in the regular season. I'm ready to crush the playoffs and keep adding more units. I'm at 55.7% win percentage this year, 122 wins to 91 losses, I believe it is, and 95 losses. And I'm up 35.75 units. So put that into context, $100 better would be up $3,500 just using my NFL picks, which is outstanding. If you know anything about sports betting, that's like top notch. So I think it's like my fourth straight winning NFL season. But anyways, enough of that, guys. You can find all my plays at Twitter or X at Easy Money Wins. So follow me. All my official plays, as soon as I put my money on them, I release them at Twitter for everyone else to see with the little write up and all that stuff. So follow it there. And with all that said, let's get into wild card round playoff talk. So we got the first game up, and before I get in the first game, there's a statistic, and I saw watched this on Teddy Cover's opening line report for Wager Talk, and it's something. It goes back to like 2002. If you have a greater strength of schedule, 10 spots better than your opponent in the playoffs, you cover the spread at like something crazy, like 58 to 60% of the time. Again, you can watch Teddy Covers from Wager Talk opening line report. He gave out that statistic, and there's 3 games this week where that criteria falls under. And just to put that into context, the first game up, Houston and Los Angeles, falls under this situation. So the Texans have a greater strength of schedule by 10 spots or greater than the Chargers do. So just for example, let's say the Texans have the 10th greatest strength of schedule. I don't know if they do or not. I'm just making the example. So say the Texans are number 10 and the Chargers are 25th. That's 15 spots. So it meets the criteria of being 10 spots or greater in the strength of schedule. So I already have 2 bets up on my Twitter. This is the first game, and I am on the Texans +3. And it's not just because I'm blindly gonna tail the team with the greater strength of schedule. I'm not gonna do that. It has to make sense for me, and then all this other things. Like I take a whole bunch of different factors into account, but the main reason why is really threefold. Okay, so the first, and sorry guys, I'm all over the place. Sorry. Let's look at the injury report first. For the Chargers, they look pretty good. It's just Quentin Johnston did not practice today, and Josh Palmer, so the wide receiver group is kind of banged up a little bit. But Lab McConkey looks good to go, and the defense looks really good. Ja'Sir Taylor, their nickelback, is a little questionable, but they've been banged up in the secondary a little bit, and they've been making it work. So nothing too major there. For Houston, nothing serious either. Shaq Mason, the guard, had a second day in a row, did not practice. And I'm doing this podcast on Wednesday night. So I'm looking at the Wednesday practice report for anybody listening, whenever you guys are listening to it. And on defense, they're pretty good too. So Jeff Okudah is questionable. Fadu Kasi, the defense tackle, is questionable. Everybody else is good to go, guys. So nothing major, in my opinion, injury-wise, that would make me say, like, hey, one team has a huge injury advantage over the other. But, yeah, back to my breakdown. First, the Chargers, if we look at who they've beaten this year, it's nobody. Literally. The only team that they've beaten with a winning record is Denver twice. And they were lucky to beat Denver the second time. And I was lucky to win that bet on Thursday Night Football when they played Denver at home that night. But look, guys, they beat the Raiders, they beat the Panthers, they beat the Saints, they beat the Browns, they beat the Titans, They beat the Bengals. Well, I guess the Bengals have a winning record now, right? They barely got a winning record, and the Chargers barely beat Cincinnati on Sunday Night Football. They really should have lost to them. Cincinnati came back, and Evan McPherson, the kicker, missed like 2 field goals to win it or something like that. And then also they beat New England and the Raiders again. Like literally, guys, they have not beaten anybody except for Denver twice, and that's with a rookie quarterback. So they've lost to Tampa Bay, playoff team. They lost to Kansas City, playoff team. They lost to Baltimore, playoff team. They lost to Kansas City again, playoff team, and they lost to Pittsburgh. Guess what? Another playoff team. So again, why is Los Angeles a 3-point road favorite in the wild card round? I don't understand it. And that is why I'm on Houston. It's a 4-unit play for me. My unit ratings are 1 to 5 units, and it's like 0.0025% of my bankroll. So a 4-unit play is 1% of my bankroll. So that's what I'm on. 5 units is my max bet. 4 units is a very strong play for me. So I have 1% of my bankroll on Houston Texans to just not lose by more than 3, which I think is very attainable. And for Houston, if we look at their schedule, right? So they lost to Minnesota. They lost at Green Bay. Those were 2 road losses. Okay, they lost at home to Detroit, and they really should have beaten Detroit. Okay, they were up at halftime for like 2 touchdowns or something on Sunday Night Football, and then they had a fluke loss against Tennessee at home, and then they lost to Kansas City and Baltimore. But guys, I mean, their resume is just better, and their strength of schedule was tougher, right? They had to play the entire NFC North this year. So they beat Buffalo at home, okay? And then you could argue, yeah, all their other wins are against nobodies, which is true. But I just think overall that this line is kind of an overreaction to the Chargers' current form right now of winning 3 in a row and winning by margin in pretty much all 3 of those kind of. And then Houston being in bad form, losing to Kansas City and Baltimore really poorly. And then CJ Stroud kind of regressing a little bit on and off throughout the season. But this is a team that won at home in the wild card round last year. And I'm sorry, just out of a pure line value standpoint, guys, I am totally fine with getting 3 points with the home underdog. Like, there's no way this line should be +3. No way. It should be a pick 'em at worst. I think it should be -3 the other way to Houston. But that's my breakdown, guys. Yeah, I like Houston at home, guys. I do. I think they win the game, so I'll gladly take the +3 points. All right, next game up, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. And sorry, guys. For Pittsburgh, they're pretty healthy. It's just Cam Hayward did not practice. He was sick. And then, Chris Boswell did not practice. He's also sick. So hopefully the next 2 or 3 days, those guys can get healthy. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll tough through it. For Baltimore, Zay Flowers did not practice for a second day. And, he got hurt against Cleveland in the last game and like the first half. And then, it didn't look good. It looked like he really hurt himself. So I really don't know if Zay Flowers is going to play this week. I hope he doesn't because I'm on Pittsburgh plus the 10. And again, there's no strength of schedule spot here because they're in the same division. They play the same team. So, I mean, essentially, except for a couple different teams, right? So no strength of schedule spot here. So that statistic does not fall in for this matchup here. So this is why I bet the Steelers, guys. And the number one reason is these 2 teams play each other close all the time. And the exception was the last meeting against Baltimore on Saturday, December 21st. But if we remember that game, it was a 1-possession score, and then Russell Wilson threw the pick 6. And it was also a 1-possession score when they fumbled in Baltimore territory. And that's kind of like the Steelers. Like, the reason this line is so high, guys, is one, because there's a lot of people that love backing Baltimore. And, I mean, I can understand that sentiment because Baltimore can win by margin. And, make it look really easy, and Lamar can go down this field and score points like it's nothing. Like they've scored 30 points or more in 4 straight games to end the regular season. And, the Steelers have been struggling on offense. But I think, in my opinion, and I think we're getting a really, really good line value. I think that this line should be, in my opinion, more around -6.5. I mean, obviously, the current form dictates that it's not, but I think that the current form is a little bit of an overreaction from the Pittsburgh side of things. Okay, and I want to walk us through this right now. So they beat Cincinnati on Sunday, December 1st, and they were 9-3, and then they beat Cleveland at home 27-14, and they're 10-3, and everything's looking great. They're a 10-3 football team, and they have a chance to just basically win one more game and win the division, and they're in control. Like, they're looking great. So what happened? They had the 3 hardest games on their schedule, all with gosh, I forget the word, where the next game gets shorter rest after another. And I know all the other teams are in that situation too, but I just think it's a little different for Pittsburgh, because Baltimore had to play the Giants at the Giants. That was a cakewalk for them. Then they got Pittsburgh at home. Pittsburgh had to go at Philly. Okay, that's not a cakewalk. All right, and they still had a chance to win that game. They fumbled in Philadelphia's side of the field too in a 1-possession game. Okay, and they ended up losing 27-13. That's a 14-point loss. They were very close. That game was closer than it looked, and Russell had a really bad game that day. Okay, then the next game they went to Baltimore, and it was a 1-possession score, just like I said before he threw the pick 6. And then what happened? They got completely no-showed and completely ran out of gas after the 2 most physical, toughest games of the season at Philly and at Baltimore. They ran out of gas on a very short week, hosting Kansas City, who's just, a well-oiled machine. And they lost 29-10. Then, this past Saturday against Cincinnati, Tomlin called a very conservative game. He said he wanted to keep the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands, and he kept the game close. Okay, he ran the ball a ton, even when they were down, and so forth. And honestly, if Pat Freiermuth caught that 4th down and 15 pass, he would have got the first down. They would have got down. They would have spiked it, and Chris Boswell would have had a shot for like a 53-yard field goal for the win. And honestly, a lot of this talk about Pittsburgh underperforming and all that stuff might have gone out the window, and this line probably would have stayed around -8.5 instead of ballooning all the way up to 10. But that's fine. I'm cool with that. I think Pittsburgh is a lot better than what they've shown. They have the ultimate optimistic person ever in Russell Wilson at quarterback. And if you heard him talk to Cam Hayward immediately after they lost to Cincinnati this past Saturday, he said, "Hey, believe it. We're going to go on a run. Believe it. Believe me, man. Like, it's time to believe now. We can't hang our heads now. Like, we're going to the playoffs." So typical Russell Wilson talk, right? And you got to understand, Russell Wilson always thinks he's in it. He honestly didn't play that bad of a game last week. George Pickens dropped 3 passes for him, and Pat Freiermuth dropped a pass for him, and Tomlin took the ball out of his hands in the entire first half. So, this whole talk of Russell Wilson didn't play well, I'm sorry, he played okay last week against Cincinnati. So, and the other thing is this too, guys. Baltimore's defense is not that good. Okay, they're not that good. All right, they've improved as the season's gone on. Okay, I'll give them credit for that, but I wouldn't call them elite. Yes, they've been playing at an elite level recently. They caught, again, Houston ran out of gas, and Houston just, they've been having a little bit of their own offensive struggles lately. Okay, they completely dominated them. Okay, I'll give them credit there. But Pittsburgh, again, kind of shot themselves in the foot. They only gave up 17. I feel like it should have been more than 17 points. The Giants suck. Cleveland Browns suck. They gave up 24 points to Philadelphia. They gave up 23 points to the Chargers. So it's this: the Ravens can give up points here, guys. So I'm not concerned if Pittsburgh gets a cheap touchdown late. They're not going to quit. Russell Wilson's not going to quit, guys. If they're down 17 points or 16 points, Pittsburgh will be trying to score a touchdown in the 4th quarter late in garbage time. No doubt about it. And Baltimore will concede it. So In my opinion, plus 10 is just way too many points. In fact, as I'm talking now, there's only one plus 10 on the board. So sharp money's agreeing with me. There's plus 9.5 mainly out there. I would go get a 10 now, guys. I think I should make it a 4-unit play. I only made it a 3-unit play, and I seriously am considering making it a 4-unit play. And I also do think the Steelers are alive to win this game. I think they very well might end up winning this game, guys. Okay. Next game up, we have the Sunday game. Sunday, 1 o'clock, we have the Denver Broncos at the Buffalo Bills. And let's see the injury report for Denver. Everyone's good except for Frank Crum. He did not practice. So they're very healthy. Denver is. For Buffalo, let's take a look. Buffalo, I don't think they released one, but they look really healthy. And I think this is accurate because they sat a lot of people last week against New England. So I think they're fully healthy, ready to rock and roll. So that's great for them. And Denver. So this is my breakdown of this game, guys. And I forget if this is the no, it's not. This game also does not fall into the criteria of the 10 spots greater of strength of schedule. Just saying, guys, I'm taking a drink of water. So this is my thought process, guys. I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I really want to bet the Bills minus 8.5. And there's two conflicting things for me that are kind of holding me back. First off, I'd be really, really freaking surprised if the Bills were to lose. Okay. Oh, sorry, guys, my fault. Before I get to that, let me go back to the over/unders. Texans, Chargers, 42.5. I do lean over there. Both these offenses are clicking a little bit better, in my opinion, and I do think that's just a little too low. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth in the fourth quarter in that game. For the Steelers and Ravens, I also think that 43.5 is a little bit low. I know there's been sharp money that pushed it from 46 to 43.5, but I do think that goes over. I don't think Tomlin's going to. I think they're going to give it all go. I don't think Tom's going to play scared ball like he did against the Bengals this past week. I think he really is going to be selectively aggressive. And I think the Steelers score, and if the Steelers score, the Ravens are definitely going to score. And also the Ravens were the number 1 over-under team in the NFL this past season. So 43 is very low for a Baltimore Ravens game. I like that game to go over. Okay, back to the Broncos and the Bills. So this is the thing. Two things, guys. First off is that Bo Nix on the road this year against elite teams and above average defenses, he has not been very good. Okay, the only two situations where he was pretty good, where I'll give him credit, was at Tampa Bay. But again, Tampa Bay's defense is kind of spotty, but still, your second road game in the NFL, you go in to Tampa Bay and you play that well. Like he played really well, guys. I got to give him credit there. But then the other game where he played well at, he did okay. Sorry, I'll give him a little credit. Guys. He didn't play amazing at Cincinnati, but he did just enough on that last drive to throw a miracle pass into the end zone and get them into overtime. But really, it wasn't that great of an offensive performance. They really only scored 17 points. They got a lucky touchdown, and it got them to 24 points, and it pushed the game into overtime. Like, that should not have happened, guys. Should not have happened. But it did. It's the NFL. Okay, fine. Bo Nix, he shows a lot of moxie, right? That's him. He's very passionate, very emotional, makes plays, but he's also been making a lot of dumb plays recently, okay? And I called this correctly back on Monday Night Football against the Browns. He threw 2 interceptions, and he was lucky that they won that game. It was just Jameis Winston was worse than he was. Then he went to Los Angeles. I forgot if the Chargers in that Thursday Night Football game, I forget if he threw interceptions that game too. But I know Cincinnati he did. And It's just him on the road. So like, look, guys, at Cincinnati they lost. At the Chargers they lost by 7, even though they were winning that entire game pretty much. Like, didn't close it. And then at Cincinnati, they really should have won that game too. Okay, I know I sound like I'm contradicting myself, but like, I know I am right on this. I know I'm right on Bo Nix. And just to make this clear, I'm not a Bo Nix hater. I'm not. I think the guy has a ton of potential to be really good. He's just a little bit of a spaz, and he makes impulse decisions on the field, and it's like both really good for him and it's both really bad for him. And like, until he can control that impulse decision making and that spastic like running out of the pocket when he has time to sit in the pocket, and like, I mean, again, it works well for him, but it doesn't work well for him either. And it's like, I just don't think that decision making is going to cover a point spread on the road against Buffalo's crowd. So Buffalo's crowd, like managing the hard count in that game, and then also managing Buffalo's really disciplined basic defense. Like, Buffalo's not, they line up and they play the same defense pretty much every snap. Pretty much. Give you the same look, and they're just good at what they do. And so, you know, Bo Nix, like, he went to Baltimore and they did really bad. They lost 41-10, right? They should have lost by, sooner than going to overtime against the Bengals. And yeah, I mean, the other part of this, guys, is Buffalo. Buffalo has been to the playoffs like what, like 5 straight seasons or something like that. They have lost the AFC Championship game. They've been on the doorstep, and now this season, everything has like clicked for them, pretty much, right? Everything has clicked. They had that. They had that very small mishap at the beginning of the season when they played at Baltimore and at Houston when they lost both those games. But then they traded for Amari Cooper, and then they went on their run, and they beat Detroit. Okay, they beat Kansas City at home. They beat at Seattle, which is an impressive win. They won at the Jets when the Jets on week 6 had a chance to like salvage their season. And I mean, the Jets were hard out all year. And then, yeah, I mean, they played the Rams really, really close, right? They lost by 2. So I'm saying all that is that Buffalo's going into this game no nonsense, and I expect them to play one of their best games of the season. I I do think Buffalo represents the AFC for the Super Bowl. I do think that they get there. I think that Josh Allen's without Stephon Diggs on the team this year, that offense is just so much more relaxed and fluid, and it just takes care of business, guys. Like, nothing is forced. Everybody's happy. The chemistry, the harmony, everything's great. And they just score whenever the heck they want to. Like, I mean, this team scored 30 points straight for, like, let's see here, eight straight weeks or something like that in the middle of the season. So, I mean, guys, I just think this is going to be a blowout. And then the other thing is that if a team wins the game, they cover the point spread at an alarming rate, guys. So if you really think a team's going to win, they're most likely going to cover the point spread. Even the point spreads around the 8 and the 7s, more times than not, if they win, they're going to cover that point spread at a profitable rate. I really, really love Buffalo to win. I think that Buffalo defense stifles Bo Nix. Bo Nix has been throwing a lot of interceptions recently, and you cannot do that in the playoffs. And for Broncos defense, good luck against Buffalo. Buffalo's going to put 30 on you guys. I mean, that's just what it's going to be. So I love Buffalo in a blowout. Total is 46.5. And that's a good total range just because I don't think the Broncos are going to score a lot, but I think Buffalo is going to score a lot. So with that said, I lean over because I know that the Broncos aren't going to quit late in the game, if they're down 20, 27 points, something like that. Like, I think Buffalo concedes a garbage touchdown late, and I think Bo Nix and Sean Payton go for a touchdown late. So I do lean over 46.5. I think the game ends somewhere like 38 to like 10, something like that. I do think Buffalo gets into the 30s. So if Buffalo gets in the 30s, I think the game goes over. Okay, guys. Sunday games. Oh, before I continue, guys, please drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Free NFL Bets. Follow me at Twitter at Easy Money Wins. I really do appreciate it. I've been working really hard this year, just putting up all this really good, free, actionable information and winning information in the NFL. I'm working on the NBA. I'm going to turn that around. But NFL's been great. Been 4 straight winning seasons for me. Show some love. All right, next game up. We have the Sunday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The Philadelphia Eagles hosting the Green Bay Packers. Line is at +4.5 for the road dog and the Packers. Let's look at the injury report today. Christian Watson, he's out for the year. He tore his ACL. But they have enough wide receivers there that I'm not worried about Christian Watson. And Christian Watson, he drops balls every single week, man. Like touchdowns, like easy touchdowns every single week. Anyways, but then he always has a nice play too. So I don't know. I kind of hate on him because he should be better than what he is. Everybody else looks pretty good to go, guys. He's a backup offensive lineman. For the Eagles, Jalen Hurts did practice in limited fashion today. I think he's going to clear concussion protocol, guys. I really think he is. This game falls under the strength of schedule. So Green Bay does have a better strength of schedule than the Eagles do. So based on those statistics from 2002 to now, it's a big sample size, guys. The team with the greater strength of schedule covers the point spread close to 60% of the time. That's very profitable, guys. If you just bet it blindly, you'd be making a lot of money. So take Packers +4.5. That's what that system says. Now, I agree with it. I do. Sorry, guys. I just want to look at the injury report just a little bit more for see if I'm missing it. Sometimes ESPN and NFL.com have a little bit different injury reports going on there. But yeah, Jordan Love said he hopes to play. That's complete BS. He's going to play this week, guys. Come on. It's silly. Like Matt LaFleur said, he came out precautionary. So he'll be good to go. Quay Walker, Edrin Cooper, questionable. They should play. They practiced today. And then Evan Williams and Javon Bullard, they should play too. Now, Jair Alexander, he is on IR, but he hasn't played for like the last 10 weeks of the season. So Carrington Valentine, I like him. Keyshawn Nixon, he's been playing well too. I'm perfectly fine with the Green Bay Packers secondary and defense. No huge concerns for me there. Now, let's take a look at the schedule, right? Because Green Bay's played the harder strength of schedule. Let's look at who Philly beat. They beat Green Bay on week 1 in Brazil, right? Remember that game? There's the Friday night game in Brazil, 34-29. Green Bay had a chance to win that game, and that was the game also Jordan Love got hurt too. So then what happened with the Eagles? They beat the Saints. As we know now, the Saints weren't as good as they started off. I mean, they were 2-0, looking like one of the best teams in the NFL. And then, the Eagles beat them only 15-12. Then they went to Tampa Bay, and they lost. Then they beat a whole bunch of bad teams. Cleveland, New York, Cincinnati at the time, Jacksonville, Dallas without Dak Prescott. They beat Washington Commanders on a short week at home on Thursday Night Football. That's definitely an advantage Philadelphia. Okay, they went to the Rams and they won on Sunday Night Football. That's impressive. I'll give them that. And they beat Baltimore. That's impressive. So those 2 wins, that's good. And they did beat the Steelers. Okay, that's another good win. So strength of schedule wise, they played a lot of really good teams and a whole bunch of really bad teams. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm buying this whole strength of schedule because, they beat, really, really good teams in my opinion. So I'll give the Eagles some credit there. And they're on a mission, guys. Like, this team obviously lost the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they kind of had a falling out last year, and then Sirianni and Jalen Hurts kind of hashed it out in the offseason, and then there was AJ Brown. This year they kind of hashed it out and they threw the ball really well. Like I don't think there's a locker room issue with Philadelphia right now. I really don't think so. I think that team is focused, and I think it shows by how they handled business the last 2 weeks without Hurts. I mean, they took care of Dallas 41-7 when Dallas was just came off the Sunday night win beating Tampa Bay, who's a playoff team. So it's not like Dallas was coming into Philadelphia just to like lose on purpose. No. And Philly throttled them 41-7. So, that's if there was a locker room culture issue, I would seriously think that these past two games against the Giants and the Cowboys, they would have lost. But they didn't. They finished strong. They had no reason to win against the Giants. The Giants played everybody who's been playing, all the starters, and Philly played Tanner McKee at quarterback, and they ended up winning the game 20-13 with nothing to play for. Like, that speaks to me of a team that's focused, ready to go into these playoffs and make noise and potentially get back to the Super Bowl. Now, for the other side of the coin, Green Bay is really limping into the playoffs. They lost at Minnesota 27-25, but they were down by like 17 points late in the third quarter. Then they lost to Chicago at home when they had a chance to go play the Buccaneers this week. And I believe that they wanted to do that. I don't think anybody wants to go to Philly and play Philly. I think people would much rather go to Los Angeles to play the Rams because the Rams have no home field advantage. And then also they would much rather go to Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay, they have their own issues on defense right now. So, Philly's defense is much better than those two. So, I feel like they tried and they almost beat Chicago, but they didn't. And I just think I like Green Bay. I love Matt LaFleur. I think he's a really, really, really good coach. I just think the Eagles at home, with everything going on right now, and I mean, maybe I sound like I'm contradicting like my whole hypothesis of like the Steelers limping in versus the Packers, but I don't know, guys. I do think the Packers are alive. I do think the Packers are alive. I will say that. I just don't think they're in great rhythm. And I mean, the difference is Pittsburgh has 10 points that I'm getting. In this case, the Packers only have 4.5. So that's kind of why I'm sounding contradictory. Like if I was going to 10 points with the Packers, like heck yeah, that'd be a great bet. But I just I have a hard time believing that Green Bay is going to go into Philadelphia and beat Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia has the better defense. Obviously, Saquon Barkley's having an amazing year. Josh Jacobs is really, really damn good too. I don't think it's like that huge of an advantage in the run game. I mean, obviously, I think it is a notch above with Saquon Barkley, but quarterback-wise, Jordan Love's the better passer, and that's what is kind of the whole wild card in this whole thing. Like, if Jordan Love plays better than Jalen Hurts, Green Bay's live to win this game. This is a tough game, guys. This is a tough game. I lean. The other thing is Jalen Hurts hasn't played in like 4 weeks. So like timing and everything, like this might be the one game this week. There's usually always one game every week where a team wins but does not cover. I would not be surprised if the Eagles only win by 3 or 4 points and this game stays close. I feel like I'm so torn in that game, guys. That's the game of the week where I'm just kind of like, I really don't know. And I lean Eagles minus 4.5, but I really don't feel great about it. I think they win, but I don't know if they cover. The total is 45.5. I like over, guys. I kind of like over for a majority of these games. Playoffs, a lot of the totals are coming down more. I think, it's going to be more of a ugly games happening, but these offenses are just too efficient for like these totals to be this low, in my opinion. And then also, like in the playoffs, teams get desperate in the fourth quarter. If they're down 14 points in the fourth quarter, they're going for fourth down and medium around midfield. And so that's going to cause turnovers or it's going to cause quick scoring. So that's what I'm saying. I think some of these games get a little out of control, and that's just going to lead to overs, in my opinion. So, yeah, guys. And then also, if they get turnovers in the fourth quarter, and like say a team's down 10 points, say the Packers are down 10 points, say they're down like 24-14, like Eagles get the ball at midfield, they go down, score another touchdown. Dang, that's 31-14. Okay, it's right at 45. And the Packers aren't going to quit. Like, if there's 3 minutes left, they'll go down the field, and Philadelphia will concede a touchdown. And then, boom, it flies over the total at like 52 points or something like that. So, playoffs, like, I think these totals are a little low this week, guys. That's my gut feeling on that. Okay, let's keep it going. Sunday Night Football. This is a good game, man. I think the only blowout of the week is going to be Buffalo. I think all the other games are going to be really, really damn good football to watch. I'm really excited about it. So, Commanders are +3 at the Buccaneers. These two teams played at the beginning of the season. This does not fall into the strength of schedule category that I was talking about. So no historical trends there. Let's take a look at the injury report really fast. All right, Tampa Bay. Logan Hall, the defensive lineman, did not practice. Tyke Smith, the safety, for personal reasons, did not practice. Antoine Winfield, full participant, so he looks like he's good to go. Okay, that's good to know because he's missed the last couple of weeks. For the Commanders, they don't have anything on their website, but their defense looks very healthy. It's just Jeremy Chin is questionable. And then the offensive line, Tyler Biadasz, I think is how you pronounce it, he's questionable, and Brandon Coleman, he's questionable. So need to see if they're going to play for sure. That's not like a huge factor for me, but two starting linemen out, it's a little bit of a concern against a talented Tampa Bay defensive front. They're not, I feel like they underperform, but there's still talent there that can win against backup offensive linemen. So, okay, I lean Tampa Bay here, guys. I do. I lean Tampa Bay to win. I don't know about -3 though. I think this line's really good, and I say that because the Buccaneers defense can definitely keep this game close, as in concede points to the Commanders. And Jaden Daniels, he's he's damn good, guys. He's damn good, and like his poise and his decision making and his accuracy, like that guy knows how to make the smart football plays. Like if you watch that Atlanta game where he led the comeback when they were down double digits to Atlanta in that game, like that guy made all the perfect decisions: when to run, when to throw, when to leave the pocket. Like, I mean, he's poised, guys. Like super poised. This is a tough game too, guys. This is a tough game too. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I just think, I don't know. Let's take a look, guys. Let's take a look. If we look at Tampa Bay's schedule, let's see who they've beaten. They beat Detroit. Well, they beat Commanders. So that was Jaden Daniels' first start of his career, and Washington's first game of the season. New regime, a whole bunch of new. Buccaneers, a much more cohesive group. Same head coach. At home, week 1, yada yada yada. They went to Detroit and they got lucky in Detroit. They shouldn't have won against Detroit. Dan Campbell messed that game up. He admitted he felt really bad about it after the game. Then they came home and they lose to Denver. Then they beat Philadelphia at home. Okay, that's a really good win. Philadelphia looked like the old Philadelphia. Then they got hurt. Well, no. Then they went to Thursday Night Football and they blew a big lead, or they blew a lead in the fourth quarter where they should not have blown. They should have won that game. Atlanta was super lucky to win that game with Kirk Cousins. Baker, the next week, then won at New Orleans. But then they went on a 4-game losing streak to Baltimore, Atlanta at home, Kansas City, and at home against San Francisco. And Yeah, I remember these games, guys. I remember these games now. Baltimore really took care of them. Atlanta took care of them too in a way. They were winning pretty much the entire game, and that's when that defense was really banged up. I remember Antoine Winfield was out for that, and then they lost at Kansas City on Monday Night Football. They came back and tied it late, and then they lost at home against San Francisco. But San Francisco kind of kicked themselves in the, I mean, shot themselves in the foot. Like they should have been up more than just 3 points. That was San Francisco -6. They did not cover. I remember that point spread. But since then, they had the bye week and they've beaten nobodies except for the Chargers. They lost to Dallas at Dallas with Cooper Rush on Sunday Night Football. So they beat the Giants, they beat the Panthers twice, they beat the Raiders, they beat the Saints, and they were very lucky to beat the Saints. Honestly, the last game of the season, they looked flat last week. So yes, they went to the Chargers and they beat the Chargers, but you guys already kind of know my thoughts on the Chargers. I don't think the Chargers are like that amazing, but still, I'll give some credit where credit's due. Tampa Bay on the road against a playoff team, winning 40-17 the way that they did. But then they follow it up and lose to Dallas against a bunch of backups in Dallas. It's like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm not loving the Buccaneers. But then also, in the same token, I'm not in love with what the Commanders are doing right now. And I mean, let's take a look at their schedule, right? They beat, I think they only have 2 wins against winning teams, guys. And I mean, if we take out Cincinnati, Cincinnati barely won, and that was week 3 of the season. So they beat the Giants twice. They beat Cincinnati. Okay. They beat Arizona. Arizona was like an 8-9 football team, I believe. They beat Cleveland, beat the Panthers, beat the Bears, barely on a Hail Mary. Then they beat the Giants. Like I said, they already beat the Giants. Then they lost 3 straight to Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Dallas. Then they beat Tennessee at home. Snuck away with a victory at New Orleans against backups. Didn't look good in that game. Came back against Philly, but again, Kenny Pickett played like the entire game in that game. And I'm a Steelers fan. Kenny Pickett's he's okay. He's okay. Um, he's not awful in my opinion for Philadelphia. And then they were kind of lucky to beat Michael Penix, another rookie quarterback, at home in Sunday Night Football against the Falcons. And then this past week, they didn't need to win the game, but the coach, Dan Quinn, was preaching all week like, hey, I want to win this game for seeding. I definitely want to win this game for seeding. And they were lucky that, for 2 things, Green Bay lost and that Dallas melted down against Marcus Mariota in the second half. So, because Dallas is winning that entire game. So, again, the schedule for Washington's really not that impressive. Like, they only beat Cincinnati and the Eagles with Kenny Pickett. Like, that's it. There's no other wins against teams with winning records. So that's what I'm saying about the Commanders. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, and their secondary is so freaking bad, guys. Oh my gosh, their secondary is so bad. So bad. Yeah, guys, I lean Tampa Bay. I don't feel great about it. I lean Tampa Bay -3. Hopefully there's some Commanders money at +3 and it drives it to -2.5. I would love Buccaneers -2.5. Get off that key number at 3. We'll see. We'll see what shakes out. We got some time before Sunday Night Football. The total for that game is 50.5, and it's for a reason. Both these defenses really can't stop anybody, and they're talented, but they're just underperforming groups. So I lean over again. I do lean over again, over 50. I could see a lot of scoring in this game. So last game up, guys. Got the Minnesota Vikings at the Los Angeles Rams, and this is the last game where that trend does kick into effect. The Los Angeles Rams, surprisingly enough, have a better strength of schedule by 10 spots or greater than the Minnesota Vikings. So the statistic says take the Rams +1 at home. That's what it says. 60%, close to 60% of the time, it's saying the Rams are going to cover the spread of +1, or basically in this game, win the game. So let's take a look at the injury report for the Rams and oh yeah, it's Monday. Sorry, so they play Monday night, so there's no injury report out yet. Let's see. I can take a look at the depth chart and tell you if there's any like injuries to look out for. Um, for Minnesota, I mean, keep an eye on Aaron Jones. He might be a little banged up. Um, Sam Darnold might be a little banged up, but I think both of them play. Everyone else on the offensive line should be fine to go. On defense, I'm pretty positive everybody's healthy, ready to go. So Minnesota should be healthy and ramped up for this one. Let's take a look at Los Angeles now. They rested everybody, so they will be good to go. Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyren Williams, Rob Havenstein. None of them played last week against the Seahawks, and they still almost won. Gosh, Geno Smith's so bad, guys. Defense is looking very healthy as well too. So, yeah, I like the Rams in this game, guys. I will say that. I think it is difficult for me to justify backing Sam Darnold in the playoffs versus Matt Stafford. And the other thing is that I think this Minnesota's defense is a little overhyped. And like, yes, in the middle of the season / beginning of the season, I'll say that defense looked like the best defense in the NFL. But after that game against Tennessee, the defense didn't look that great, guys. And I can't put my finger on it. I don't know if it was a secondary. I don't know if it was the run defense. I don't know exactly, but it wasn't as dominant. And if we look at it, they went into overtime against Chicago. They gave up a couple scores to Chicago late in that game. They gave up 27 points, and they won that game 30-27. The following week after that, they played Arizona at home, and Arizona jumped out on them like 14-0, 17-0, something like that. And the Vikings had to climb their way back in. Now they shut it down and they hunkered down, and they shut down Arizona late in that game. Kudos to the defense, but still they gave up 22 points very quickly to Arizona. Atlanta, they gave up 21 points in the third quarter. Now they only held them to 21 points, but Kirk Cousins was dealing before he wasn't dealing. You know what I'm saying? They gave up 21 points quickly in that game. Okay, they played Chicago at home. Okay, Chicago is bad. They shut them down 12 points. But then the last 3 games of the season gave up 24 points to Geno Smith, which, and if you've been watching Geno Smith this season, he's not good, guys. So to give up 24 points at Seattle, like they did have the good stop late in the game. I'll give credit, but still, 24 points is a lot of points, guys. Green Bay, they let them come back in the game, right? Like they did a good job of stopping them initially. Like they really controlled that game defensively, but then they let them back in the game. And then Detroit just, in the first half they contained them, but again, Detroit broke through. I don't know, kind of give it a pass because it's Detroit. But still, on the road at Los Angeles, like I like Sean McVay a little bit more than Kevin O'Connell. I like Kevin O'Connell too, but I just think, and again, the game is in well, hold on, the wildfires are happening, so this game might be in Phoenix, where the Arizona Cardinals play. So wherever the game's going to be played, there's going to be more Vikings fans. The Rams have a terrible fan base in Los Angeles, and these two teams already played on Thursday Night Football. And that's kind of why I'm not talking about the Thursday Night Football game, because Thursday Night Football results are very random. Los Angeles was at home. They didn't have to travel, and Minnesota did. I think any team that has to travel on Thursday Night Football is already at a big disadvantage on a short week. And they just kind of ran out of gas. And they played Detroit the week before that, too. So, emotional loss going into Los Angeles, trying to get revved up for that game, and it just didn't happen. And Los Angeles won 30-20. So, I lean Los Angeles, guys. I do. There's going to be a ton of Vikings fans in LA. But still, I lean with Sean McVay. I lean with Matt Stafford. They're continuously disrespected. They're still disrespected in the betting markets. hats off to Minnesota, 14-3 season. Um, they won the games that they were supposed to win. They played the AFC South, which isn't good, so it's a lot of free wins there. They played San Francisco at home early in the season, Houston at home. Their road. I mean, let's look at the road. They won at Green Bay, but that was the first game where Jordan Love came back after hurting his groin or whatever against Tennessee or whatever it was. Okay, so Minnesota jumped out on them, and I kind of discredit that a little bit because Green Bay wasn't full strength. They lost at LA. They beat at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, barely at Chicago, barely at Seattle, and then they got kind of dismantled against the Lions late. So really their two road tests, their big road test this year was Green Bay, Los Angeles, and Detroit, and they lost two of those games. That's what I'm saying, guys. I lean Los Angeles here. I really do. That defense is underrated. They're young on the front seven, but they're talented, and they're getting pressure. And the back end is experienced, and they're playing better. If you take a look at the last 3 games of the season before the last game, at San Francisco, they held them to 6 points. At the Jets, they held them to 9 points. Arizona held them to 9 points. Buffalo, Buffalo's Buffalo, guys. You know what I'm saying? I lean Los Angeles here, guys. I do. I lean Los Angeles. And just like all the other games, I lean over. There's 6. So, I would be surprised if every single game went over this weekend. But I will say this. I think 4 out of those 6 games goes over. I think if you bet every single game over, I think 4 of those games, I think it's a profitable situation. I think 4 of these games are going over some way, somehow. These offenses, these quarterbacks, these offensive coordinators are just too damn good, guys, to be held back from getting 3 touchdowns. So if each team gets 3 touchdowns, there's going to be a lot of overs happening, and I think that will be the case. So yeah, guys, that is it. Next week, there will only be 4 games to talk about? That's crazy. That's freaking crazy. Man, it's always so bittersweet at the end of the NFL season. And this is really going to be my last long, kind of somewhat long podcast. But just thanks for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, let's keep finding winners. Let's find some winners. Let's have a good week, and we'll move on to the divisional round next week. All right, guys. I'll see you later.